Sometimes those things are physical. We want a new car. We want a good-looking spouse or something like that, or even a faithful spouse. But the soul always wants something. It's really not content anytime it gets those things, because that itch that it's trying to scratch that it can't is actually a remembrance of God and its union to God. So the whole idea is to take that desire, because it's a powerful fuel, which, if you have a desire to be a stand-up comedian, you have a desire to be an actor, you have a desire to be a writer, that desire can push you on against all odds. And you can succeed against all odds because it's so powerful a motivator. But now if you orient that upward and your desire becomes the spiritual, the numinous, God, or, God in Christ, that is what philosophically is probably the best direction, the best kind of focal point or goal for this energy, this desire, this eros.
That's it's like, it's so funny right now. A good friend of mine is kind of in the public eye right now with a joke he did about Puerto Rico at Trump's. And when you talk about this kind of like this drive, I mean, there's no better example of that than Tony Hinchcliffe and his drive and his belief in himself to get to exactly where he wanted to be, which is at the Trump rally, making jokes about Puerto Ricans. And, and it's just like such an interesting time because, that I don't think there's a scandal if it wasn't at that exact moment, at that exact time, in this time in our country. And that's exactly what you talk about, this kind of the will to this to happen. But it's also this kind of will to like get closer to God. And it's like, regardless of whatever you believe, like there's going to be people that are like, oh, I'm over the religious stuff. I get it. But like, what do you believe in? Like, what do you believe? Like, you just think we're like monkeys on a rock hurling through space, and like all this crazy kind of detail in the world just randomly, like, it makes no sense to me, dude. It makes no sense to me. What you're saying is that this just randomly, this beautiful meal was made with no creator making it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, especially I didn't, this isn't my quote, but I love it. I heard it years ago. The issue with science is that it breaks several of its first rules right out of the gate, right? It says, give me one free miracle and I'll explain the rest. So it's like, it's like, we're not even off on a good foot here. You had to break, break several of your rules to even fucking exist.
Yeah. It's so crazy to me. So let's get into what you want to talk about, man. I feel like you've answered my question. I want everybody to understand it. You had this conference, you put together your own Suicide Squad to go out there and just kind of figure it all out. Take us through this, man, because I love it. It's like I was on Rogan. We talked about the pyramids, and I kind of go along with him. I'm working my way back into kind of where I can insert myself a little bit more. I think that the history of the Egyptians is like way deeper. Like, who knows how deep that? I mean, we see things that look like the Sphinx all over the world on top of mountains that go way deeper. But we think that's where it stops. And I think it just, we what's the saying somebody said on the show? We live on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, so when we get into this, I just think it's so much deeper than maybe some people want to think it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like everything that I wrote about in my book, and I'm like the first person to say this, is that what we have a really nicely preserved tradition in the writings of the ancient Greeks. We don't necessarily get that in the Egyptians, right? Not a lot of people know how to read the hieroglyphs. And it's just, people seem to be more.
Is it part of your jurisdiction working for CIA to put holes in Kennedys?
First of all, we don't call them jurisdictions, we call them authorities.
What a strong denial. I want to tell you why I think you're still part of the CIA.
I am not a part of CIA. It's not true. It's not called the CIA. It's just called CIA.
I'm going to get you to call it the CIA. Then I win. Then I'm the super spy.
There's a presidential election coming up in November. There is no good outcome. Trump said, you guys are a bunch of idiots. You keep calling me a Russian spy. All of a sudden, that called into question whether CIA even knew what they were doing.
He chooses not to use CIA?
Private intelligence can do things that national security can't do.
Aliens, UFOs, real or not?
UFOs are real, but they're not alien. It's us.
Did you ever kill somebody?
I cannot answer that question in great detail. I can say that I've never intimately killed anyone. What I think is going to happen is Zelensky and Netanyahu are going to get political sanctuary asylum in the United States. The United States can't let Zelensky die. Everybody knows Putin wants to kill him.
What do you think happens?
In Israel, Palestine?
Alex thinks Chinatown is a cell.
Yeah, sleeper cell.
You're right.
What the
Chinatown is a diaspora of Chinese immigrants, so the intelligence community plants its own operatives inside that community. But keep in mind that the CIA...
The what?
He's my asset.
My asset now. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Flagrant. And today, I'm very excited because we are gonna expose.
Yes.
That's a good YouTube title. You got it right. Expose.
Reveal. We're gonna reveal. Yeah.
Secrets.
Yeah.
Secrets. A CIA operative who's still working for the CIA, as I say, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We got Andrew Bustamante.
Hey.
Everyday Spy, thank you so much for coming in. Okay, we have to do this thing, which you've said this on every podcast that you've been on, but I do want to just set a baseline understanding. Are you wearing leather?
It's fake, man.
Yo,
Yes,
okay.
clever.
That was crazy, Al. I didn't even notice that.
You know, a little something.
Okay,
We got
okay.
special guests. I had to dress up.
Fair enough. Look how casual his.
I know, I was going
pants
to say, I'm rocking some tiger stripe
Hey,
sweatpants.
you didn't get the memo, man? Leather today, bro.
All right. We do have to understand a few things here, right? What the fuck is going on? That threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
Okay. You dress like Janet Jackson, dude. Okay.
that's good.
We need to know,
You go flash.
what
That's
is the CIA? I know you've answered this on every single podcast, but I do think it's important. What is the CIA?
CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, and why do you say CIA? You never go the CIA.
So the CIA is something that is commonly it's a misconception by the American public. It's not called the CIA. It's,
Okay.
When you talk about it as an acronym, it's just called CIA, Central